Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, a free site, bettingangle.us, a free site. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. You have a major heavyweight fight, and it's hidden on this Fury and Ngannou boxing card, right? This fight should be a headliner. It's the last king of Scotland, Martin Bakole, and he's taking on very tough vet Carlos Takum. Right now, Takum, of course, lost to Alexander Povetkin. He lost to Anthony Joshua. Takum is a bit undersized. He did beat Tony Yoka, right, an Olympic gold medalist, as did Bakole. Bakole was the first man to beat Tony Yoka. Well, just understand, Takum is as tough as nails, moves around outside the pocket, and he has stamina, right? There's an open question on whether his fight, which was stopped in the later rounds against Anthony Joshua, should have been stopped. He's always bringing it. Let me also point out that Bakole was beaten in the past by Michael Hunter. Now understand, the boxing media doesn't talk much about Hunter, who's older. Hunter, who got a draw with Alexander Povetkin, who beat Ustinov. When Ustinov was supposed to be the next big thing in the heavyweight division, who fought and gave Alexander Usyk problems for several rounds at cruiserweight before Usyk pulls away. Just understand that Michael Hunter would be a very tough matchup for a bigger fighter who lacks coordination, right? That's how it turned out against Martin Bakole. Now, this fight's a must-watch because the question is, who is Martin Bakole, right? Bakole, of course, has sparred with Tyson Fury. Bakole has a rare skill. You've heard me here online talk about short-range hookers, right? Errol Spence comes to mind. You've heard me talk about mid-range hookers, right? Too many to mention. We'll say Danny Garcia is a mid-range hooker. Most hookers are mid-range hookers, right? Relative to the pocket. They're right in the pocket when they're throwing their hooks, right? They need room to get leverage, as opposed to Spence, who can lean on you and hit you with hooks. Well, just understand that Martin Bakole is that rare long-range hooker. The uniqueness of his style gives him a distinct advantage against most heavyweights. He can be way outside, throw hooks, and land on you, right? And somehow, because of his volume early in fights, when he's a juggernaut, guys can't counter the hooks. Even though Bakole is throwing punches on a curve, guys can't hit him with straight shots. He has mastered the style. Now the question's going to be, against a guy like Takum, who's savvy, who's shorter, who has stamina, and who moves, will Bakole be able to land the hooks? Or will Takum's movement take away that vital tool from Bakole's arsenal? That's the million-dollar question, folks. Style-wise, Takum is one of the best possible challenges to Martin Bakole. Let me point out, too, Bakole jumped out on Tony Yoka, right? Looked dominant in the first few rounds. But as you watch the fight, you notice that the big man started to fade. Understand, that's what happened in the Michael Hunter fight. Now you have a heavyweight champ, Tyson Fury, who went the distance with Deontay Wilder the first fight, went the distance with Vladimir Klitschko, right? In the third fight, when he knocks out Deontay Wilder late, understand, that knockout didn't come until something like round 10 or round 11. So you're talking about a heavyweight champ with stamina. Let's look at Usyk. Usyk is a guy who, of course, has gone the distance with people like Murat Gassiev, right? Understand, I'm naming cruisers because, believe it or not, those are the guys who have given Usyk his toughest fights, right? Maris Briedis, he goes the distance with Maris Briedis, right? Of course, at heavyweight, he's gone the distance with Anthony Joshua twice. So this is a stamina era right now in the heavyweight division. You don't have a lot of guys who are great the first 6 rounds, and then the back 6, oh, who knows what's going to happen, right? We don't have that right now among those in power. So pay close attention to the last 6 rounds of this Martin Bakole, Carlos Takum fight, right? Takum is a guy with proven stamina. Bakole, not so much. Understand what it means. It means that if Bakole's in against a Tyson Fury, and Fury is able to wait him out, right? Throw enough jabs where the first 6, Tyson wins at least 3 of them. Then, of course, wait out Bakole so that there could be a possible sweep of the last 4 rounds. Then a Tyson Fury would be able to successfully defend his title, right? But if Bakole shows you stamina here, if he's able to marry the first 6 rounds against Tony Yoka with the last 6 rounds here, then you're looking at one of the most dangerous men in the heavyweight division. Let me point out, too, that the heavyweight division is the glamour division, right? That's where most of the money is, right? It's skewing older. There aren't a lot of young guys in the mix in the heavyweight division, right? In the United States, Big Baby is out there, but you wonder at this stage of his career if Big Baby has enough experience to go up against some of these older guys. Martin Bakole is in his 30s, folks, as is Carlos Takum, right? Just understand, you cannot go by historical metrics. You can't look at the age of, let's say, a Floyd Patterson when he won the heavyweight belt, right? You can't look at the early age when Rocky Marciano walks away from the sport and compare that to what's happening right now in the heavyweight division, right? Luis Ortiz is 44, folks. To me, he remains one of the most dangerous men in the heavyweight division. Deontay Wilder must be wondering what's going on. He had the belt for 5 years already. He's at an age where historically we'd be viewing him like you viewed Jersey Joe Walcott, an older champion, right? You know, Deontay's had the belt. He's hanging around. He's wondering, has money in the bank. He's wondering, wow, should I continue? Then he looks around and he realizes he's not even fighting young lions. Most of these guys are in their 30s. But understand, there's a caveat to that. If you don't have stamina figured out by the time you're in your 30s, you're in trouble, right? So understand, if Bakole shows a lack of stamina against Carlos Takum, and it's an open question, I'm not betting on the fight, right? Bakole, huge favorite in the fight. I think the line's unjustified. If Bakole shows a lack of stamina against Carlos Takum, just understand that won't be the mistake made by a young guy in his early 20s who's just starting out, who has time to figure out how to conserve their energy. If you have a stamina problem in your 30s, folks, you have a big problem. Especially when Deontay Wilder, of course, the flip side of the Tyson Fury fight, went the distance against Fury the first time. made it into the late rounds the third time, right? Has stamina himself, and of course remains one of the top heavyweights. So stamina is a big question here. Effectiveness against Takum, who can move on the outside, is also a big issue here. Right? So this is one of the most intriguing fights. On the undercard, it's shocking, quite frankly, that it's an undercard fight here because, simply put, in my opinion, this is one of the best fights that could be made at heavyweight. So I don't have a betting angle on the fight. But let's just say I'm curious. I'm hoping the fight makes it to the middle rounds because if Bakole destroys Takum too early, there are going to be too many unanswered questions, right? A third round stoppage is not going to tell us whether Bakole would have had the stamina in the 8th or 9th rounds. Let's hope this fight goes a few rounds. Let's hope both fighters are inspired. Let's find out over a series of rounds whether Bakole can throw long hooks and still land on a veteran savvy fighter defensively like Carlos Takum. Let me know what you think. If you have a side you believe is the betting side of the play in this fight, tell us in the comment section of this YouTube video. On the entire card, I believe that the best bet is the Fabio Wardley, David Adelaide not going the distance prop. Right? I believe that's the best bet. Let me also say, too, I don't buy the Fury camp claiming that they can stop Ngannou anytime they want. That's not who Tyson Fury is. Tyson Fury was never Mike Tyson. Right? Mike Tyson, you understood, could run across the ring and take out Marvis Frazier. Right? You understand that you have certain champs, George Foreman, who could put you on the clock. Right? Kenny Norton was not going to make it to round 3. That's never been Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury likes to see the lay of the land before he jumps in the cage. And let me just say, you have the added dynamic here of Ngannou having a punch. Right? Anytime a guy has a punch, that should lead to more cautiousness early. Right? And of course, Ngannou, this is his first professional boxing match. You don't have the films that you can study to figure out the angles of his punches. And you have his boxing coach, of course, Mike Tyson. You don't know whether Tyson has convinced Ngannou to channel vintage Mike Tyson in this fight. So I believe this fight goes distance, not goes the distance, but makes it past the midway point of the 5th round, right? The fight is mispriced from an over-under perspective because we're assuming one of two scenarios. We're assuming either Tyson Fury shows boxing brilliance, shows us that Ngannou shouldn't be in the ring with him, is landing big shots from early, and is able to take out Ngannou. Or we're assuming that a shootout ensues, and Ngannou's punching power delivers and takes out Tyson Fury. Right? I believe it's more complicated than that. I think Ngannou's going to be in there trying to land a big shot, won't be able to find Fury. I believe Fury is going to look at Ngannou, is going to understand that there's a bias toward the fight going some rounds. Because, of course, you want to make sure that there's a value proposition for the fans. Right? You don't want a 20-second fight. You want a fight that at least gives the press something to write about. Right? So I believe Fury's going to come out, he's going to look at the lay of the land because that's who he is. He's not a first, second, or third round guy. Right? He's going to look at the lay of the land, he's going to figure out what to do, he's going to excite himself in the crowd by making Ngannou miss. Then he's going to get to work on trying to get a knockout. By then, gamblers will be thinking to themselves, great, we're already into round 5. All I have to do is make it past the midway point of this round to cash my ticket. Right? So I'm not expecting a very early KO in that fight. I'm expecting it to hit the over. But understand, I believe that bet is riskier than the Fabio Wardley-David Adelaide bet. Folks, you got two guys who can punch, one guy with really not a lot of defense, right? You got the two guys kind of like talking a lot of smack about the other. Wardley, simply put, is one of the hardest punchers in the heavyweight division, in my eyes, right? I'll be surprised if that fight goes the distance. I believe that's the bet of the card. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.